Good evening. Tonight, as America prepares to break out the fireworks and celebrate the 4th of July, communities on both coasts learning the painful lesson of just how dangerous they can be. The search for answers ongoing tonight after this massive explosion at a California fireworks warehouse. You see it there, the flashes and the smoke from the fireworks still inside. 7 people remain unaccounted for in that blast, as authorities now say they are in a recovery operation. The families of those still missing, you can imagine, grappling with this unimaginable just desperation as they wait for any information about their loved ones. Further south, a column of smoke rising from this home in Simi Valley after a fireworks explosion there killed one person in their garage. Near Oakland, a similar story. 2 people badly injured at this home by another possible fireworks explosion. And across the nation, on Cape Cod in Massachusetts, a popular July 4th destination for New Englanders, 2 people rushed to the hospital after fireworks exploded at a country club. Now on the eve of America's birthday, one of the most iconic parts of the July 4th holiday turning tragic. Camila Bernal leads us off.
Tonight, the news families feared the most. Authorities saying they're moving towards recovery efforts. After this massive explosion, a fireball caught on video at a fireworks warehouse outside of Sacramento.
We cannot move forward and risk any more injury to anyone else on this scene. So I appreciate and understand how much you want answers.
Growing outrage and heartbreak. 7 people still unaccounted for as families wait for answers about their loved ones. Johnny Ramos saying his 2 sons are among the missing.
He
said when he watched the video and saw the explosion, that's when he lost his hope. It's cruel, he says.
It was the first day on the job for 22-year-old Johnny Ramos Jr. and 18-year-old Jesus Ramos. He's expecting his first child.
And he told him, "You're going to be a granddad." And he was so happy.
The company devastating pyrotechnics saying our hearts and thoughts are with those we lost, adding we will cooperate fully with the proper authorities in their investigation. Officials say they are now reviewing whether policies and procedures were followed.
And if they weren't followed, we're going to revise and modify those procedures so incidences like this won't happen again.
But families tonight grappling with the unthinkable.
Says they ripped his soul, his heart.
You can just hear the heartbreak there from those family members. Camila Bernal joins us now from Esparto, California. Camila, some of those family members there still behind you. Any indication of when they could get more information?
Not yet, Tom. They have no idea, and they say they rather wait here for any sort of answer or any information instead of waiting at home. They say it's miserable no matter what. Authorities telling them to be patient, saying this is a very difficult crime scene and saying that there's hazardous material, and that's why it's been so difficult for them to get closer to that warehouse. But they're saying that they're trying to get crews in today, possibly even tomorrow morning.
You know, we were seeing those images also in your report of the explosion in Simi Valley, which were incredibly dramatic. What more do we know about the investigation there? This is a home?
Yeah, this is at a home. This is a separate incident, but authorities there saying one person was killed also by these fireworks. They found the person in the garage, and that garage door just blew across the street. The roof at that house also caving in, so extensive damage at that property. Authorities also saying they're investigating, but not giving us any details on that victim there, Tom.
Camila Bernal for us tonight, leading us off here on Top Story. Camila, thank you. Now to our other breaking news tonight. President Trump and Republicans on Capitol Hill celebrating after passing the signature piece of Trump's legislative agenda, his so-called Big Beautiful Bill, the GOP overcoming bitter divides within their own party to get the bill across the finish line just hours before a self-imposed July 4th deadline. The bill boosts funding for both immigration enforcement and the military, as well as the space program. But critics have blasted the measures, the cuts to parts of Medicaid, food stamps, and clean energy funding. Final passage coming after House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries made a record-breaking speech trying to delay the bill. 8 hours and 44 minutes on the floor, the longest speech in the history of the House. Our Ryan Nobles pressed House Speaker Mike Johnson today on the battle for those last few votes and has the latest from Capitol Hill tonight.
Tonight, a major victory for the Donald Trump agenda.
The motion is adopted.
The House passing his multi-trillion-dollar sprawling spending bill designed to fund a wide range of campaign promises, including extending tax cuts passed in his first administration, new military spending, and money to fund a mass deportation plan, paying for it in part with steep cuts to food aid benefits, clean energy funding, and Medicaid. President Trump celebrating the win before flying to a victory rally in Iowa.
This is a great bill. This is going to be a great bill for the country.
The bill passed largely on party lines, with only 2 Republicans voting against it. One of those, Pennsylvania Representative Brian Fitzpatrick, who dodged NBC News' questions.
Why did you vote no?
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Why did you vote no?
House conservatives balked at the changes made in the Senate, holding back their votes for hours, before they finally relented without a single thing in the bill changing. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
You think they caved?
No, I don't think they caved. Look, I think every member made a thoughtful and informed decision.
President Trump working the phones until the early morning hours. The holdouts say they got what they wanted.
Are you concerned that in the future, though, people won't believe that you guys are going to be a no on big issues like this?
I think they know we better be ready ready to deal.
Democrats did everything they could to delay final passage. Their leader, Hakeem Jeffries, setting a record by holding the floor for more than 8 hours, attacking the bill's overhaul of social safety net programs like Medicaid and SNAP, which could lead to millions of Americans losing access to coverage.
We were a hell no last week, a hell no this week, a hell no yesterday, a hell no today.
But Republicans argue Medicaid is in need of reform, and the bill is filled with the president's priorities, like eliminating taxes on tips and overtime. Republicans taking a victory lap following the vote. All Smiles is one of the signature songs from the Trump campaign rallies played in the room.
Let's pick up right there. Ryan joins us tonight from Capitol Hill. The president's going to have to sign this bill. I know you know that. Tell our viewers where that's going to happen.
He has plans for a big signing ceremony on the 4th of July, Tom, complete with the possibility of a B-2 bomber flyover and fireworks. He's invited every member of Congress to be there. This as he attempts to sell this package to the country. Tom.
Okay, Ryan Nobles for us. Ryan, we thank you. President Trump also celebrating a stronger than expected jobs report for the month of June. The Bureau of Labor Statistics saying the U.S. added 147,000 jobs last month, well above estimates, as the unemployment rate ticked down from 4.2 to 4.1%. And on the diplomatic front, Trump holding a call today with President Putin. Earlier this week, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a pause on military aid to Ukraine amid concerns about the U.S. stockpile there. Vaughn Hilliard has been following all these developments, joins us tonight live from Des Moines, where he is traveling with the president. Vaughn, let's start with the better-than-expected job growth last month. What's been the reaction from the White House on these new numbers?
Right. These are welcome numbers for the White House and the American public at large. The unemployment rate going from 4.2% down to 4.1%. While there is still consternation over the potential volatility of this economy, especially with the president saying that at the end of this week, he is set to send letters to numerous countries saying that they're going to have to pay at certain tariff rates set by his White House. These economic numbers indicate that Americans are still employed and finding jobs. There is an increase in particularly educational and healthcare jobs. There was a downturn in federal government jobs, which is of little surprise, understanding the impact of DOGE and the efforts of this government to cut at the federal agency level the workforce numbers, but also in the manufacturing industry also saw a downturn in numbers. So this falls in line with what Fed Chair Jerome Powell has said as to why they are not taking bigger cuts to interest rates, because, well, there is indication that the economy may be cooling slowly. At the same time, at this point in time here in July of 2025, they believe that the economy is in a very, quote, solid state. Tom.
Yeah, and Vaughn, I do want to ask you about President Trump's call with Putin, as we mentioned earlier. Here's what he said to reporters earlier tonight. Let's listen.
We had a call. It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran. And we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine. and I'm not happy about that. I'm not happy.
Vaughn, the president has publicly been getting more and more frustrated with Vladimir Putin. Where is this relationship right now?
Exactly. This is now two-pronged here. That's not just about urging Vladimir Putin to bring his aggression and his war against Ukraine to an end, which now President Trump has been in office for more than 6 months. You'll recall during the campaign, he had promised to end the war in 24 hours. But so far, Vladimir Putin has not taken to the threats of the president, who just 1 month ago said that he had 2 weeks to agree to a ceasefire and a peace deal, or else there would be consequences. Those consequences against Russia have not been rolled out by this administration. But now Iran is the second prong to this, Tom, and that is because after the Israeli airstrikes and then the U.S. bombs targeting those 3 nuclear facilities, Russia had the back of Iran, and Iran went and met, their foreign minister went and directly met with President Putin. And we see now the president understanding that he needs Vladimir Putin to urge Iran to come back to the negotiating table, to urge Iran to end its nuclear enrichment program completely, because there are serious questions about just how successful those strikes by those U.S. bombers were initially here, Tom.
Okay, Vaughn Hilliard for us from Iowa tonight. Vaughn, we thank you. In Chicago, police searching for the suspects behind a drive-by mass shooting that killed 4 people and injured 14 more. All the victims, young adults, most of them in their 20s. That according to police. The shooting taking place outside of an album release party in the city's River North neighborhood. NBC's Shaquille Brewster has been following the story for us from Chicago. Shaq, we're getting new surveillance video of this incident into our newsroom just now. I want to bring that up here. You can see people running from the gunfire. A local pastor described what we're seeing here as a, quote, war zone. You see the running right there. What do we know about a possible motive here in the weapons that were used?
Yeah, police say that it was a possible rifle that was used. They don't know how many weapons were involved, but they say that they believe it was multiple weapons. I mean, you look at that video that we just got into our newsroom. It was obtained from a police source to NBC's Chicago station. You see it's a black car that's driving by, and you see some of those muzzle flashes, what appear to be muzzle flashes, firing into a crowd that was standing outside of what we know to be an album release party. This was a party that started at 7 p.m. The shooting happened at 11 p.m. Now, Chicago's police superintendent came out today and said this was not a random incident. This was an isolated incident. It was targeted. He said while he doesn't know the specific motive, he does say that there was a clear motivation involved. That is, of course, all going to be part of this police investigation. We know there's a lot of video that will be included in their investigation, and we also know investigators are talking with witnesses. They're going to hospitals, and they're also canvassing the area and the areas of some of those witnesses, Tom.
Yeah, and then do we know anything more about the victims?
Well, the 4 victims that were killed, we know 2 of them were men, 2 of them were women. The men ages 24, 25, the women ages 26 and 27. One of the women, her aunt, is telling our Chicago station that she worked as a hairdresser. She was a captain of a dance team and was looking forward to taking a vacation just next week. And one of the men who was killed, according to the rapper whose party, this album release party, was going on, it was her boyfriend. She posted on her social media page saying that she was heartbroken by the loss of her boyfriend and then the others who were also shot and killed, Tom.
Terrible and sad. Okay, Shaq, we thank you for that update. We want to turn now to the weather as we approach July 4th and, of course, the weekend. Let's get right over to meteorologist Bill Cairns for the forecast. Bill, what should people expect as they gear up for the holiday?
Yeah, I just hope people didn't wait to the last minute to catch their flights in the Northeast, because it's ugly once again, Tom. We have isolated delays. Miami, it's been about an hour all day long. Seattle, some minor delays. But in the Northeast with these thunderstorms again, I mean, this is as bad as it gets. LaGuardia is over 3 hours. JFK is an hour. Newark's over 2 hours right now. Philly's an hour. DC's about 30 minutes. And Boston is an hour. So there's a lot of people wondering if they will make it to their destination in time for the 4th tomorrow. All of these thunderstorms are racing through southern New England. The worst of it from Providence southwards, heading down towards Block Island. And that will be gusty winds and some small hail. Some people will be losing power. And the Hurricane Center now has the odds of a tropical system trying to develop here, 60% over the holiday weekend. So for anyone in the South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Northeast Florida coastal areas, rip currents are going going to be really scary though over the next 3 to 4 days. Keep that in mind. Check with the lifeguards before you head in the water. A lot of people's vacation plans, they do not like the looks of this as this tries to spin up. It will not become a big hurricane or anything devastating, but it will churn the water up. It will be gusty, rainy occasionally, especially Saturday and then Sunday, South Carolina and into North Carolina. So as far as the forecast goes for the actual 4th itself, it is looking like it's going to be pretty nice, almost as nice as possible. Low humidity from about the mid-Atlantic through the Northeast. The only isolated concerns I have, Tom, Dallas up towards Bismarck, middle of the country, isolated storms. Hopefully they'll end in time for the great fireworks shows.
And Bill, when you started that forecast there, you were a little dark. Was there a storm cloud over you?
No, not too many.
Here it comes back. Here it comes back,
The storms are
Bill.
going through New York, so you never know.
Bill, okay, thanks for that forecast. We appreciate it. Top story returns tonight. Tennis star Venus Williams opening up, sharing her very personal battle with a debilitating medical condition impacting millions of women. Why she's speaking up now and the response from her doctors that left her, quote, outraged. And dramatic video tonight, the National Guard coming to the rescue of a rock climber who fell nearly 60 feet at New Hampshire's Mount Washington. We'll bring you that video. Back now with Top Stories news feed. We're going to start with the Madre fire in Central California, now the largest in the state this year. The blaze in San Luis Obispo County, just north of Santa Barbara, sped to more than 35,000 acres, and there was 5% containment this morning. According to CAL FIRE, local communities receiving evacuation orders and warnings. A consumer alert to tell you about tonight, the FDA upgrading a recall of organic blueberries to a Class 1, its highest level, over concerns about listeria contamination. Georgia-based distributor Alma Pack International has recalled 400 30-pound boxes shipped to a single customer in North Carolina. The Food and Drug Administration noting the upgraded warning means there is a, quote, reasonable probability that consuming the product could lead to a serious health consequence. The DEA announcing a huge bust in Georgia that they believe is tied to a Mexican cartel. Look at this. Agents uncovering 700 pounds of meth in a tractor trailer, but get this, hidden in boxes filled with cucumbers. You see here tightly packaged bags of meth being removed from a cucumber box right there. 2 individuals have been charged with possession with the intent to distribute the drug. One man also charged with, quote, illegal re-entry by a removed alien. This incident, as you can imagine, is under investigation. A dramatic and heroic rescue when a flight paramedic comes to the aid of a badly injured rock climber after he fell nearly 60 feet at New Hampshire's Mount Washington yesterday. Watch this. The National Guard paramedic lowered to the climber, whose name is Luke Lamwatton. He's 31 years old. He was put in an air rescue vest and then hoisted to the helicopter above. Lamwatton says he has done the climb twice before but fell off before this trip. He is currently recovering in the hospital right now. Wow, he looks banged up. Okay, now to a very personal story for tennis star Venus Williams, the 7-time Grand Slam champion, opening up for the first time about her years-long journey with fibroids. Our Zincle Esamoah got a chance to sit down with Venus exclusively. Take a look.
Olympic gold medalist and tennis champion Venus Williams is one of the greatest athletes in the world. But for years, she was secretly dealing with a medical condition that nearly sidelined her.
Can you talk me through your symptoms? What were they like for you?
My symptoms were extreme pain, so much in pain that maybe you'll throw up or you can't get off the ground. I've missed practices because of that, just, hugging the toilet.
One of the most frightening moments coming in 2016, just before winning the doubles title with her sister Serena at Wimbledon.
I was just laying on the floor in the locker room, and thank God Serena got the doctor, and I was able to get up and eat and start playing. Bad luck for our opponents. A loss of that much blood, you're in constant anemia. I'm like, I know, and I live with an autoimmune disease, so I thought maybe it was autoimmune anemia or something like that. But really, it was what I was dealing with inside, which was fibroids and something else I had never heard of, which is adenomyosis.
In 2011, Williams was diagnosed with Sjogren's syndrome, an autoimmune disease that can cause joint pain and fatigue. But the source of her pelvic pain and heavy bleeding was something else. Fibroids, benign tumors that can grow in the uterus.
I didn't know that they were growing and growing and growing.
Nobody told you?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know it was not normal. I thought when they said, oh, there's something in there, I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's something like this. I didn't know it was something like this, big like an orange.
The now 45-year-old says she had a fibroid diagnosis for years, but doctors dismissed her symptoms.
One doctor told me at the time I was maybe like 37, and he said, this is a part of aging, this is normal.
One doctor told her she only had one choice.
A hysterectomy was recommended to you.
Yeah, I've never been so sad in my life. I had never been running to have kids, but I always wanted to have a choice, and to have that taken away is just frightening.
Believing she had more options, Williams started doing her own research, ultimately finding Dr. Tara Shirazian at NYU Langone's Center for Fibroid Care.
I think Venus's story is actually, unfortunately, a very common story. Women do not get the care that they need for fibroid disease. Even when she came to see me, she said, I've seen a dozen other doctors. Why are you recommending surgery? And I said, well, because I know it will make you better.
70 to 80% of women will have fibroids, with Black women 2 to 3 times more likely to develop them and face more severe symptoms. Left untreated, they can lead to serious health complications. One of the most commonly recommended procedures is a hysterectomy, but there are alternative and less invasive surgical treatment options and medications.
Women know their bodies. They will tell you how they feel. Really, all we have to do is listen.
Williams ultimately got a myomectomy with Dr. Shirazian, which involves removing fibroids from the uterus. Nearly a year after her surgery, Williams says her quality of life has changed.
I've been taking this time to rest and recover and be, a happy person without fibroids.
We have seen you post some videos of you training.
Oh, yeah.
You training for something specific?
I'm not playing badly, so you never know. I really, truly know it affected my results and my game and my career.
You believe fibroids impacted your career?
I believe definitely fibroids impacted my career. I never had enough energy most times to play a real match the way I wanted to. And of course it affected my results.
You're one of the top athletes in the world. You have the best medical teams. And yet you still didn't have clarity on what fibroids meant for you. Why do you think it took so long?
No one knows that this is an issue. There is no one talking about it.
Today, Williams is working to change that, partnering with NYU Langone Health and Dr. Shirazian to raise awareness about fibroids and different treatment options for women around the country.
You can be denied the best health care no matter who you are. You have to be your own advocate. Hopefully someone will see this interview and say, oh my God, I can get help. I don't have to live this way.
Zinclea Samoa, NBC News.
Next tonight, to the dire warning about the future of the American workforce and artificial intelligence coming from some of the biggest executives in American business. The CEO of Ford Motor, Jim Farley, joined a growing list of leaders sounding the alarm, predicting AI will lead to major cuts in industries like technology, finance, and manufacturing. Farley had this to say.
Artificial intelligence is going to replace literally half of all white-collar workers in the U.S.
Pretty dire there. I want to bring in Wall Street Journal reporter Chip Cutter, who is out with this story today. Headline: CEOs start saying the quiet part out loud. AI will wipe out jobs. Chip, I want to start there with the warning from Ford CEO. They have 50,000 hourly workers. You've seen his comments there before. What do you interpret this to mean?
Well, I think it shows that CEOs are starting to really say the quiet part out loud. We've been worried about job losses due to AI, and now you have executives starting to quantify it. What the Ford CEO is talking about is sort of the white-collar workforce in general, but he said there's going to be a lot of pain for those corporate folks, and actually it might be better for some of the hourly employees who have trade skills. It's really the people doing knowledge work, doing corporate jobs that might be at risk here.
Do you get a sense from talking to the CEOs of when this could be? When is the timeline?
Many are still trying to figure that out, but they're thinking about this right now. The boards are asking CEOs to give them a number. Which percentage of our jobs could be cut due to AI? You see executives like the CEO of Amazon saying our headcount is likely going to be smaller in the years ahead. You have others starting to say that we're already seeing these efficiency gains, these productivity gains that have come from AI. That's causing us to change how we hire going forward. It's causing us to either start to reduce the size of these teams and just think about how many people we really need inside of these big American companies.
So the tech industry obviously is ahead of maybe other industries on AI. You're seeing layoffs in Microsoft, Amazon announcing, or at least it's been reported, I think in the Journal, that they now have more robots than regular people working there at the company. Is this the trend? I mean, will it start in tech and then sort of trickle down?
That's what we've seen in the past in other tech revolutions, right? That other companies start to adopt this. They try to act like tech companies themselves. And I think what's happening is that some CEOs are seeing on a week-to-week basis how their own companies have changed. If you're in HR, if you're in marketing, if you're in law, you're using some of these AI tools and you're realizing you could be a lot faster at your job. And so that's then causing these executives to say, wait, how many people do we really need?
Do you think, and I'll play devil's advocate here, that some of these CEOs may be putting out these dire warnings because they just want to shrink their headcounts and they have to obviously answer to shareholders as well?
This could be a convenient excuse, absolutely. I mean, we've seen this over time. You know, CEOs have used other words for this. They've said they're just interested in efficiency or productivity, whatever it might be. So certainly there could be some of that happening here. But I do think this is different. We're seeing a real change in just how executives talk about employees. It's no longer that they just want to hire as many talented people as possible, even if they don't have roles for them. Right now, it's almost this idea that employees almost impede your progress, that smaller teams would be better.
Let me ask you, when we talk about colleges and universities, are they sort of changing their curriculum to I guess, I don't know, to get ready for this revolution? Because a lot of times, I mean, kids are there to get a job. I mean, that's why you go to college, obviously the life experience, but they may be studying and trying to prepare for jobs that no longer exist.
Well, I think the entry-level workforce is the most interesting part of this. We had the CEO of Anthropic saying a few months ago that he could see sort of so many entry-level roles going away just because AI can do the job.
Give us some examples when you say that, Chip. Like what jobs?
So think about like an analyst, for example, inside of a company. Someone who learns the ropes, helps to build PowerPoint presentations.
Paid to study the data.
Paid to study the data. That's something that AI can do really well and can do it quickly, within minutes.
And it doesn't need health insurance.
It doesn't need health insurance. It's not as expensive. And so that, I think, raises questions for what happens.
I feel you're going to be covering this for a while, and we'll have you back on anytime you have any big updates because it's scaring a lot of people.
Tom, thanks so much.
Yeah, Chip, great having you. When we come back, we'll take a closer look at the growing crisis in Haiti. Gangs controlling an estimated 90% of the capital city, leaving residents terrified. Why some are calling a push from President Trump to revoke temporary protected status for Haitians trying to flee a death sentence. And wildfires raging in Greece, closing in on beachgoers. That urgent firefight next. Back now with Top Stories Global Watch. 4 passengers are injured after a shocking hammer attack on a train in Germany. Police arresting a 20-year-old Syrian national who allegedly struck passengers with a hammer on a crowded high-speed train from Hamburg to Vienna. Passengers overpowered the attacker before he was arrested by police. The rail line was shut down, with police yet to determine a motive there. At least 1,500 have been evacuated as a wildfire scorches the Greek island of Crete. More than 200 firefighters trying to contain the blaze on the island, with high winds up to 50 miles per hour, making it difficult to control. Footage shows stunned people watching as fire moves closer to a beach. Extreme heat and dryness has hit southern Europe, fueling those fires across the continent. Greece's meteorological service issuing warnings as Crete's temperatures could reach nearly 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and Scotland getting quite a show today. A meteor was spotted by stunned onlookers burning across the sky. Here are some of the videos that were taken across the country, catching that fiery ball in the early morning hours. Witnesses say a loud bang was heard as the meteor burned out. Scientists are investigating if it landed or disintegrated into the atmosphere. Let's stay overseas for an update on where things stand after the U.S.'s historic strikes on several of Iran's key nuclear facilities, and whether Iranian officials are still open to negotiations with Washington. Chief international correspondent Richard Engel on the ground inside of Tehran with an inside look.
With the airspace closed, we set off for Tehran by car, 12 hours across the desert from near the border with Afghanistan. Then Tehran. First impression, the government appears firmly in control. Those who expected a quick regime change were wrong. Today, we met with the deputy foreign minister.
There's been some confusion as to how much damage was actually done to Iran's nuclear program. Can you tell me how much damage was done?
The damage is serious.
Does Iran plan to respond to this 12-day war with an attack against U.S. bases, the U.S. homeland in some way?
We have already responded to that. And as long as there is no act of aggression being perpetrated by the United States against us, we will not respond again.
The deputy foreign minister left open the door to negotiations, even though he says the U.S. cheated Iran because they were in the middle of negotiations when Israel launched its surprise attack last month.
How can the Americans explain this? We want them to explain as to why they misled us.
Iran took a beating, with top generals and nuclear scientists among the some 1,000 Iran says were killed, including civilians. And now Iran is honoring its dead of the present and the past during the Shia holy month of Muharram.
Here they are mourning and celebrating a Shia martyr killed 1,400 years ago. But this year, after the war with Israel, this ancient ceremony has an added significance, a way for Iranians to show they will never forget and never surrender.
Many Iranians say the country has never been more united, rallying behind their flag and faith. Richard Engel, NBC News, Tehran.
Richard Engel and his team inside of Iran with that big interview tonight. Richard, our thanks to you. And to the Americas now, our stories focusing on the U.S., the Caribbean, and Latin America. Tonight, hundreds of thousands of Haitians living in the U.S. at risk of being deported after the Trump administration ended their temporary protected status. NBC's Yamiche Alcindor speaks with one couple who says this latest move could be, quote, a death sentence.
Gang violence has been tearing apart the Caribbean nation of Haiti for months. UN officials now warning gangs control an estimated 90% of the capital. It's why hundreds of thousands have fled, like Kevinson and Shirley Jean, who 2 years ago legally immigrated to rural Panhandle, Texas.
We wanted to start a new life where we can have hope for our future kids or for our future dreams.
But now they are living in limbo. Last week, the Trump administration announced in September it would end temporary protected status for Haitians like the Jeans, which the Biden administration had extended due to gang violence. And even though the FAA has banned U.S. flights to Haiti's capital, the administration now says the environmental situation in Haiti has improved enough that it is safe for Haitian citizens to return home.
Return to Haiti right now is death sentence.
My biggest worry is they can kidnap me, rape me, because the gang, I think they don't care about if you're gonna suffer.
Already, the Jeans' work permits have expired. Members of their church, many of who voted for President Trump, are helping them pay for a lawyer to seek asylum. A federal judge this week blocked the Trump administration's move to end TPS. But Tom Homan, the president's border czar, says the government will appeal the decision.
Why go after Haitian immigrants that came here legally and who have been contributing to society and who, by the way, have the support of Trump supporters who voted for the president?
Again, the president made a commitment we're going to enforce immigration laws in this country. And we do prioritize the worst of the worst. But that doesn't mean everybody else is off the table. If they're here in violation of immigration law and we find them, they're going to be arrested.
The Jeans just praying they can stay.
There's good people that embrace the American culture. So there has to be a way to help them find something to stay here in America.
And Yamiche joins Top Story tonight. Yamiche, you reported there that these immigrants' work permits have expired. How are they surviving? What are some of the other ways the community is sort of rallying around them?
Well, Kevinson and Shirley Jean are in a really, really tough situation. They're living off their savings and also the generosity of fellow church members who are helping them pay legal fees and also helping them with things like groceries. Now, Panhandle, Texas is a deeply conservative community with many supporters of President Trump. But those same voters told us they are praying the Jeans are allowed to stay in the U.S. And they thought President Trump would be going after immigrants who broke the law, not people like the Jeans who came here legally, haven't broken any laws, and have been contributing to American society, Tom.
So, Yamiche, you bring up this great point in the story, which is it's almost impossible to self-deport because the FAA doesn't have flights going into Haiti right now. So what's next for these immigrants stuck in limbo?
Well, it's a key question. Right now, many Haitian immigrants are left stressed and living in fear because, as you said, there's really no safe way to get to the capital, and many say there's no safe way really to get to any part of Haiti. That said, the Trump administration plans to push hard to end TPS in September. Now, multiple officials told me that the government expects a higher court to rule in their favor. And even if the Trump administration can't end TPS in September, the federal judge's order blocking the Trump administration's plan said that TPS for Haitians can be changed in February 2026. So that means hundreds of thousands of Haitians could be forced to leave the U.S. next year, and that is leaving so many people scared and confused about what to do next, Tom.
Yamiche, we thank you for bringing this important story to us tonight. That does it for us. We thank you for watching Top Story tonight. I'm Tom Llamas in New York. Stay right there. More news on the way. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.